Hello, this is Pam again with Huntington, Surrey High School. I am doing a video today about essay writing, trying to do a video a day to sort of do my part here during the COVID crisis and help out people who are new to homeschooling and don't know where to start. So I got a request in to do one about how to go about doing essays, and this is something that is, pretty generic. Generally, people, have kids start writing their essays, anywhere from 4th, 5th, 6th, and continues on through high school. Pretty much the gold standard is your 5-paragraph essay. So what that means is you're doing an introductory paragraph, you're doing 3 body paragraphs and a conclusion paragraph. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead, just for the sake of it, look at 9th grade, but really you can look at, like I said, in any grades. And when you're trying to figure out, okay, well, my kiddo needs to write, so what am I supposed to have them write about? Like I've said in a lot of the other videos, we want to go ahead and look into what the standards are. So, and when I say standards, what are the goals at that age level that you're trying to achieve, or grade level, as the case may be. So I fall back to the Common Core. So what I do, and I'm going to share a screen here, is, let's say I have a 9th grader, so I'm going to go and just Google Common Core 9th grade. And it'll take me here to the Common Core standards for writing. And as you can see, I mean, they've got writing standards for all the grades here. And they're really generally broken down into 3 different types of papers and essays that kids can write. I'm going to 9th, 10th here. So one type of essay that's expected is write arguments to support claims in an analysis of substantive topics or texts using valid reasoning and relevant and sufficient evidence. Okay, so this can include a flat out, just a straight out like opinion piece. I had one student do a hilarious paper about how, white chocolate is terrible. So these can be about anything. It can certainly, be an analysis of a novel that's being read. It can be an opinion piece on what's going on in the world. There's certainly a lot going on right now, so to talk about. So that's your argument piece. This is your research paper, right? Informative, explanatory text to examine and convey complex ideas, concepts, and information clearly and accurately through the effective selection, organization, and analysis of content. Okay, so these are your expository, informative, more objective types of paper, and these are all these little sub standards are everything that's expected to go into it. And then, of course, your narratives. So those are your stories. So what you do is you pick which one of these you want to focus on. And once you have an idea for what you're doing, you can go ahead and get going. Again, I really, really recommend the 5-paragraph essay piece. So what I always do is I'll start off with showing the kids examples of what it is that I'm looking for. And I'll show them examples of you know, somebody who seems to be kind of like right on level with the type of essay, somebody who seems a bit low, somebody who did a really, really good job, and that's, you know, what you want to emulate with what they're doing here. And there's a million ways to find example essays. One resource, it can be a little bit tricky, but I Google Oregon, the state has example papers of what students have done in various testing scenarios, and they show you, you know, exactly that, like what a low kind of paper looks like and why it was graded low, what a medium paper looks like, and what something that's like kiddo who's on the higher end looks like. So you can show those things. You just Google state of Oregon, I believe it's state of Oregon writing examples, and if my Zoom little thing here will get out of the way. Let's see, Oregon State rating sample. So, and they've got scoring guides and things like that. So you can click in here and it'll take you to low, medium, low, high. So you can click on here and you can look through different work samples to see, you know, what, and discuss, most importantly, discuss with your kiddo, you know, what worked, what didn't. So once you have the idea of what your expectations are, I go ahead and I start. And this really goes for the analysis piece or the informational one. I'll talk about narratives in a different video because that's, yeah, that's kind of a bit of a different process. So I'll start with a graphic organizer, you know, maybe something that looks like this. And so I break it into something, you know, very visual and not daunting. So I have my, you know, students say, okay, you know what, so here's your prompt. And again, like a lot of times I pull prompts from the novels that we're reading. And you can find those, if you're doing classics, there are a million, I mean, you can type Grapes of Wrath essay prompts and a billion will pop up. You know, whatever book it is or novel you're doing, you can easily find like a million prompts for. So let's say I'm doing, you know, discuss, you know, the themes presented in Of Mice and Men, you know, and do they relate to, you know, what's going on in, you know, modern day times. So, you know, you think of you'll have the student, you know, think of a thesis statement for your child. And this is when I tell kids it's totally okay to steal. And they're like, what? You know, you should never steal. It's okay. So you want to look at the prompt, and it's okay to steal words from it to make your thesis statement if you're stuck. So, you know, if the prompt is, you know, discuss, you know, modern, discuss themes, you know, in Of Mice and Men, and, you know, are they, you know, relatable to what's going on today? You know, you could say, there are, you know, there are many themes in Mice and Men. However, there is, you know, this one particular theme of blah, 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 blah is extremely relatable to what is going on in modern times. That's your thesis statement, right? So I have them write their thesis here in the intro. The next thing I'll do is I'll have them, I skip these transition sentences, but then I'll have them fill out, okay, so what's your, you know, body number one gonna be? You know, it relates to current times because of this reason. Maybe it relates to modern times because of this other reason, and maybe it relates to modern times because of this other reasons. So once they have their bodies and for, you know, printed out here, then I'll have them think of transition sentences. And we'll do stuff like we'll play games kind of to get their mind sort of flowing about the idea of transition sentences. So let's say, you know, I'll just do little things like, let's say I've got one paragraph about, you know, apples, and another paragraph is going to be about bananas. And so what would be transition that I could do? And you know, it could be something like, you know, apples have a lot of nutritious, you know, qualities, you know, high nutrition, high nutritional value, and so do bananas, you know, whatever. Just give them, you know, kind of play a game of, you know, dogs, dinosaurs. How do we relate the two? And so then you kind of get them warmed up like that, and then they can start to figure out transition sentences and start to fill these in between the body paragraphs. Once they've got this filled in, they know where they're going, and then the conclusion I just kind of say is it's a restatement. You're not going to use the same exact words that you were, you know, using, but it's like, if you could look away from what you've written and tell me, what is body 1 about? Okay, so that's going to be one sentence. Or what's body 2 about? Okay, so it's just a summary of what you had basically written, with maybe like a nice deep little final statement about the overall thing here. So it's a restatement of your intro, it's a restatement of your body 1, 2, and 3. And there you go, there's your conclusion. Oftentimes I'll have kids not do their intro first, as long as they have the thesis statement and they know where, you know, what the point is that they're trying to make. Then I'll just have them go ahead and dig in and start writing their body paragraphs. They've already got their topic sentence written in these bubbles here, so all they need to do is add details. So one thing I like to use, especially with kids who, even high schoolers who get very overwhelmed by writing, especially for my dysgraphic kids, is I have them use this guy. So it's an umbrella paragraph graphic organizer here. And so let's say they wrote, I don't know, racism plays a big role of mice and men, and that, you know, those issues are still around today. So maybe that was their body 1 paragraph. I would have them write that in here. And then these detailed sentences, you know, I explain, like, you know, you can't have a sentence like that and say, I like cheese. That doesn't fit under the umbrella. It has to fit under what your main idea is here. So if my main idea is that racism is a problem today, I can say, you know, right now there are, you know, hundreds of protests going on with hundreds of thousands of people because of systemic racism in today's society. You know, Of Mice and Men portrays that, you know, the character, you know, Crooks, and how he's rejected. You know, people are still feeling that, people of color are still facing these types of rejection today. And then my detail number 4 sentence here, you know, could be a transition depending on what my expectations are for paragraph length. Generally, you know, the younger they are, I'll start out, you know, if they're in elementary school, I'll just start out with, you know, if you can do 3 to 5 sentences, that's great. As they progress in high school, their sentences, their paragraph should be, you know, 5 to 8 to 10 sentences long. So it just kind of, you know, depends. So, you know, they can write for every box here, they can write a couple sentences in here, a couple sentences in here, a couple sentences in here, a couple sentences here. So this is still, you know, like I said, usable for your high school kids. Down here, this is just a reminder to use put some transition words in between so that you're really making sure that your thoughts are flowing together. So they can steal from this word bank. You can also have a printout of other transition phrases and such right beside them and say, okay, well, can you use any of those here to help make your thoughts really stick and flow together better? And so I'll have them fill out. So, okay, body 1, let's fill this out. Body 2, let's fill this out. Body 3, let's fill this out. So once it's all filled out, and they've done one for, you know, all of their body paragraphs, then I'll have them go back. I have them look at their intro. And when I do, and when I teach how to do an introductory paragraph, what I tell my kids to do is look at your thesis statement. And then I want you to go like one hierarchical level above that. And that's actually what your topic sentence is going to be. Your thesis is not going to be that. So for example, if I was going to, you know, write, um, if I was going to write about, you know, let's say my thesis is dogs are super cute and I love dogs. Not a far stretch. So if that's what my essay is going to be about, I'll ask them what's like kind of one topic above that. Like, what are dogs? Well, they're animals, right? So maybe my topic sentence for my intro is going to start out much broader than just dogs. So I'll start out with my very, very first sentence of my essay might be, there are many amazing animals on this planet. You know, and then my next sentence for my intro is going to relate and expand on that first thought a little bit. So it's not going to be my thesis yet. So sentence number one is this extremely broad thing. Sentence number two is going to elaborate a bit on sentence number one. So if, you know, there are many amazing animals on this planet, many people want to have them, many of them for pets. Okay. Then my sentence number three is going to start to target what my thesis is going to be. So one is very broad, two is an elaboration of it, and sentence three is going to start to be that transition sentence to go from there to what my thesis statement is going to be. So there are many amazing animals on the planet. Many people want to have them as pets. However, there are only a few that most people have. Next sentence again, focusing in on my thesis. So dogs are one of the most prevalent types of animals that people keep as pets. Now my thesis statement. Dogs really are one of the best kinds of pets that you could have. Okay, so there I've gotten down to my thesis. Then my next sentence is going to kind of cover what, it can either be a transition to what my first paragraph is going to be, or it can include what all my bodies are going to be about. So maybe I'm going to talk about how dogs are beneficial to people's health, that they bring a lot of general, you know, joy, and that they're very smart. So, you know, I'll say some of the reasons why people have dogs is because, you know, they bring people a lot of joy, they can improve people's health, and they're adorable. Okay, so, or something like that. So basically, now I'm ready, and then I can go into my first body paragraph. So that's how I teach doing an intro. So I'll have the kids do their bodies first, go back, do the intro, and then write their conclusion. 5 paragraph essays are sort of just the gold standard, because if you can do a 5-paragraph essay, you can add as many bodies as you want, and you know, you can have your 10-page paper in college and you're pretty much golden. The other thing I teach kids pretty early on is to do these in MLA format. MLA format is the format that you're expected to do in most colleges. So to do MLA format, I go to, you can type in, go to Google, you can type in Purdue OWL sample MLA paper. Okay, and this takes you to what an MLA formatted paper would look like. So it's got the student's name, teacher name, subject up top here, the date. You go to page numbers, you insert page numbers here, and then you click on this side and you can type your name in, your last name here. And the other thing, note, the general stuff with MLA is just this is all 12-point font, Times New Roman, and there's no, everything is double space. There's no extra spacing between paragraphs. The title goes here. You know, you can teach about how to title, you know, how to write titles properly. You know, all this stuff goes in here. If they're doing a some sort of analysis, it talks about, it gives examples in here of in-text citations, and then finally a works cited page example. So you can, oh, works cited, sorry, over here. So, and it goes into all of this. So this is the way to teach, you know, just nonfiction writing of essays. Essays can be, you know, as they get older and more complex, as they, you know, you should be asking more complex questions as they get older. So, you know, a fourth grader could write a 5-paragraph essay on, you know, just give me a report on blah, 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 and they can write it. You know, the older they get, the more they're able to do an analysis. So, for example, compare and contrast themes between The Great Gatsby and Of Mice and Men. So you're throwing a bit more at them, and they've got to think harder. And so as they age up, you want to be giving them, yeah, definitely more, you know, more difficult things for them to sort of wrap their brain around and be able to communicate to you. With opinion pieces, one of the important things here that I would do if they're writing an opinion piece is in their body paragraphs. I would put detail number 1. Make sure you have, you can add things to these boxes here when you do graphic organizer like this, where you can also write in here counter argument. So one important piece in the Common Core standards, it says, you know, you have to give counter arguments to things. So it's not all one-sided, and it's showing that it's very important that they show that they took the other side's ideas into consideration, but then counter that. So, you know, I think, you know, dogs are really cute. Acknowledge that, you know, some people think that cats are better, but, you know, because this and this and this, but here's why I think that dogs, I'm going to convince you that my opinion's better than what they're saying. So you want to have counter arguments, and again, it especially in this day and age, you really want to make sure that they understand that they need to back it up with facts. I can't emphasize enough how much that's needed, to be able to look at something and read something and think, is this a fact or is this an opinion? And really making that distinction. And it's really important that that goes into their essay writing too, that, you know, this is what I'm stating here is fact, and I'm citing my source. Not just, you know, I heard it on, you know, this from this meme. Is not okay. So really making them understand that they need to do the legwork, they need to do the research to back up what their opinions are. If they're doing an analysis piece, a big part of the Common Core is that they have to go back and they have to use quotes and quote something from the novel. So, you know, these sentences prove that this and this and this and this were going on, hence my analysis of it, you know. So they need to have that, and you can, like I said, use these graphic organizers. So when they're all done filling these out, they can go ahead, type it all, you know, throw it in MLA, and then you're golden, and they have written an essay for you. Again, the narratives are something that I'll do in a separate video, so this one doesn't go on too long. So I hope that this was helpful for you. Please feel free to email me at info@huntingtonsurrey.org if you have any questions. Yeah, if you felt like this was helpful, please hit, you know, little thumb up guy. And please also, if you want me to do any other videos for you, please feel free to send in a request. Hope everybody's staying healthy and safe and happy and well.